like when I worked with Streisand, you know, like, you know, like you just gotta, you gotta.
You don't want to be the guy who's trying to overshadow Barbra Streisand.
And then she's just so incredible. I mean, I just love her to bits.
Yeah.
And it's pretty incredible. She's done 140 shows in her entire career.
Yeah.
And
and hates every one of them.
I've been so lucky to be on 40 of them.
Wow.
You know, like a third of her career, I've been on that stage with her, you know, like, or her, you know, or touring career.
And she hates the process. She hates touring.
I know. I got one good Streisand.
Come on. This is what this the show's called, Stories to Tell.
Yeah, I hope she doesn't get mad at me for saying this, but
because she knows we're both friends of hers.
She asked me, so I played at David Foster's wedding to Yolanda, going back to like 2011, and she was in the audience, and I thought it was like I was being punked, and she came up and said, you know, we ought to do something together. I'm like what the heck is okay? A couple of years later, I get a call and said, you know, she doesn't use an opening act. She puts someone she digs in the middle of her set, and she
changes clothes,
does some duets, and then she takes off and changes clothes, and then I would play a couple of my own songs, and then she comes back. Okay. Yeah. And so when we did that tour, I would just take my violinist and my tour manager and myself. So it would just be, and we would travel completely independent of the Streisand huge, you know, epic tour planes and all that stuff. And we were playing in Montreal, and she was always so lovely. And she was like, so Chris, are you going to fly to Quebec? I mean, to, where are we playing? Oh God, so like, Rochester, I can't remember where we were playing, but it was like a 4-hour ride.
Right.
You know, and I said, no, Barbara, I have a beautiful tour bus. And I said, you know, you're always welcome to go with us on the tour bus. And she goes, I've never been on a tour bus. So, of course not. So let's say you're Streisand, you're saying this to me.
Yeah.
And I see Marty, who's her tour manager, over the shoulder like this.
Manager.
Tour manager.
Oh, the tour manager.
Yeah.
Not
Marty
Ehrlichman.
Right. But Marty Hom, who's a tour manager.
Yeah.
So he's
going like this?
He's like, yes, totally. And she goes, I would love to come on the tour bus. And I see him and I'm like, okay, well, what time do we leave? And then she said, 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock. We're going to leave at 10 o'clock. She goes, okay. And I'm like, oh God, what did I do? So I come down at 10 o'clock and Marty's standing out on the pacing on the pavement. And he goes, I told you. And I said, what did I do? I mean, I hope I didn't upset you or something. And I get on the tour bus and there's her security guard and her assistant with the dog.
Yep.
And the whole tour bus is covered in roses.
Yep.
And she ordered so much Chinese food.
Yep.
And while we drove that 4 hours, she served us all Chinese food.
Yep.
Like a doting, incredible mom person, icon. And, you know, this was 2012 and 2013 or 14, I can't remember. And, you know, phones weren't like, you know, people weren't on social media all the time.
Nobody would believe it.
You could not, we were just going like, this is just amazing.
Yeah.
You know, but her talent, her level of the way she switches up everything's not, and the way she lays back in the time and just floats those notes out.
And in the studio, her intelligence.
Yeah. Yeah, oh God.
She remembers what she did. If she sings 9 takes of a song, she'll remember a little thing she did, and she'll remember that it was in take 4. And I've had the honor of producing her a couple times. And I'll see people in the room where the engineer kind of like do a little like, yeah, right, so I'm sure it's take, and I'll look and I'll go, it's going to be take 4. And she never fails.
Yeah.
It's kind of mind-blowing. Can we trade?
Yeah.
So I met Barbra when I was really young, 20, something like that. And so I've been...
Wait, does this have to do with the #1 record?
No, that's a good story too, but you know that story.
Yeah.
No, this is one you don't know. And I worked with her a few times, but never really knew her. And then I don't remember exactly what prompted it. Maybe like 15 years ago, something occurred where we ended up having dinner together, and we just were like, oh, we like hanging out together. So we became friendly, and then we really haven't worked together since then.
Yeah.
But we've become friends, and I'm friends with Jim, and then I got divorced. She knew my ex-wife, and then a couple years later, I met Daisy and started dating Daisy, and we finally had a dinner where she met Daisy, and she highly approved, and she was very excited for me to find new love, and then she kind of fell in love with Daisy as well. So we started socializing pretty regularly.
Yeah.
And one night, Daisy had a friend visiting, and this girl was dating a new guy from Argentina who was visiting, and so we were going to take them out to dinner, and we were going to meet the new boyfriend of Daisy's friend. So a few nights before, Daisy says, should we invite another couple, kind of maybe just, what about Barbara and Jim? And I was like, you know, Barbara doesn't really go out that much. Like, she goes, you can ask. And I said, I'll ask, but, you know, I doubt this. So I text Barbara, hey, Friday night we're going to dinner with Daisy's friend and this guy. You and Jim want to come? She texts me right back. Jim's away doing a movie, but I'd like to come. Can you pick me up? I said, sure. I said, Barbara's coming. So the five of us are going to go to dinner. And it was at what's now Lucky's in Malibu, but it was Mr. Chow. And that was a place. If Barbara was going to go out to dinner in Malibu, she would go to Mr. Chow because she loved the food.
Right.
So we go to pick her up. I'm driving. Daisy's next to me. Barbara's in the back seat. We're driving down PCH to the restaurant. And Barbara says, so who are these people we're going to have dinner with? And Daisy says, oh, it's my dear friend and this guy that she's just dating. And now, prior to this, I have to point this out, maybe 3 or 4 months before this, Barbara had invited us to the launch. She did a little tour, and she did, you know, those friends and family shows where she does a full dress rehearsal.
Right.
At the Staples Center.
Wow.
She invited us, put us in the front row. She said, bring anybody you want. So we brought this girl, this friend of Daisy's, who's a massive Barbra fan. So she was at this concert. This is a few months before this dinner. Now she's going to have dinner with Barbra Streisand. So Daisy deliberately didn't mention that Barbra Streisand was coming, because in case Barbara canceled at the last minute or something. So Daisy said, well, it's my friend. She was actually at your friends and family concert months ago, and she's such a fan. And she doesn't know you're coming because I did. And Barbara goes, she doesn't know they don't know I'm coming? They don't know I'm coming? And Daisy goes, no. She goes, I swear to God, this is all happening as we're driving. Barbara goes, ooh, here's what we're going to do. When we get to the restaurant, you park and go inside, and I'll wait outside. And then at a certain point, I'll count to like 30, and then I'll come in and I'll pretend like I don't know where I'm sitting. And then you'll say, oh, you're with, she like was directing this whole.
That's so awesome.
And as I'm driving, as she's describing this, I'm looking in the rearview mirror like, are you fucking kidding me? So she does this whole act to entertain these people she's never met.
That is so awesome.
And I could go on and on. There's a lot of more details of the story. We end up sitting, the girl freaks out. We end up having dinner for 2 hours. And as we're wrapping it up, Barbara says, why don't you guys all, they've never been to the house. Daisy, Richard, are you busy? Like, maybe I'll show her around the house. And we all end up going to Barbara's house. And she gives these people a tour of her home. Because she's just, that's who she is.
Yeah.
It's kind of unreal. And people don't generally perceive her that way or know that.
I mean, her fame is, I mean, maybe on a level of Sinatra.
Yeah.
You know, and it's so refreshing to hear that story of someone that wasn't completely freaked out to like wait in the car park and come rolling in. And,
I was worried. I was like, I didn't want to leave her alone outside.
No, I know. It's like, I mean, she's just like next level.
But the thing you said about her serving you guys on the bus and decking out the bus and everything, that's my experience with her too a lot, which is that she's very motherly and nurturing and thoughtful. And even in the early days of knowing her, I would come over to her house to maybe work with her on something or have to go through an arrangement, and she would have remembered what I asked to drink. Like one time I went over to her house and we were working on a movie she did called Mirror Has Two Faces, where I wrote and sang a song in it. And she directed the film. And I went over to go through something with her, and I asked for, they were sending out for beverages or something. And I said, well, look, if it's not too much trouble, I love this iced tea thing. 3 weeks later, I come back. She's got it there waiting for me. She remembered what I asked.
It's amazing.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's amazing.
So, anyway, we went on a little Barbra love fest tangent.